For the sake of a national comparison, the Louisville Orchestra compares itself to orchestras in similar regions with similar budget classes. In this case, you can see the names of the cities represented down the left side of the chart. The Louisville Orchestra operates with an annual budget of $6.9 million. The average in our budget class is $8.5 million. As a reminder, the largest budget in our class is $12.4 million. When you look at the Louisville Orchestra employment model, we have 71 core musicians. The average in our budget class is 62. In addition, the number of weeks that we employ our musicians every year is 37 weeks per year, and the average within our class is 38. So we're in the right general ballpark in that metric. Our weekly pay rate for musicians as a base pay is $925, very similar to the national average within our budget class. And finally, if you take 71 musicians and multiply that times the number of weeks that we provide employment, again times the weekly base pay for our players, what you get is an annualized payroll for base pay for players of about $2.4 million. If you divide that into our annual budget, what you're left with is a percentage of our annual budget devoted to fixed costs for bass players at 35%, when you can see on this chart that the average for our budget class is 26%. So one can see that from a fixed cost percentage, Louisville is at the high end of this chart. Looking now at the same information sorted a different way, you can see that Louisville ranks at the very top in terms of the cost of our musicians as a percentage of our budget. If you look closely at this chart, you'll see that there's another orchestra with 71 musicians right underneath the Louisville Orchestra. You'll notice that they hire their musicians for 7 fewer weeks per year, which is rather substantial, resulting in a net payroll of over $200,000 less than the Louisville Orchestra. It's worth noting that the San Antonio Symphony is also struggling with budget issues. Looking again at our data in the original format, we turn our attention to the green and orange stripes on the left side. Again, the average budget within our range is $8.5 million. If we look at those orchestras, what we find is that the average number of musicians in those orchestras from 8.5 and below is 55 musicians. If we lower our sights and take that same average for $7 million and below, signified by the orange stripe, we find that the number is still 55 musicians. This is what has led the board of directors at the Louisville Orchestra to determine that a suitable target for the Louisville Orchestra in terms of an employment base is the average within our budget class of 55 musicians. It is worth noting here that the Louisville Orchestra still intends to have a full complement of musicians on its stage for all of its concerts. It would simply be the case that we would have 55 musicians on our full-time payroll, putting us squarely within the average of our budget class from across the country. When combined with additional administrative budget cuts, this reduction in the total full-time musician payroll helps to put the Louisville Orchestra budget into a sustainable mode, thereby helping to end the cycle of crisis in which the orchestra has operated for the past 20 years.